While Aylin's gone, the battle is happening in the ships. Lysandra's fighting as a sea dragon, which is pretty cool. She is attacking specific ships that Rowan tells her to. Some of Maeve's ships have slightly different flags on them. They've got the White Thorn sigil. And as they're fighting, these ships kind of turn traitor and start attacking the rest of Maeve's fleet. At which point, Rowan gets all of their ships to start attacking, which is iconic because it means Rowan's family come through and they choose him over Maeve. But Lorcan consents that Maeve isn't on any of the ships. And when he turns around, he realizes Maeve is on the beach, which, much to Lorcan's great concern, is where he sent a lead. He was like, go, be away from the battle, over on the ground. Get off of the ships, go be safe on land. Maeve is over where a lead is. Luckily or unluckily, depending on how you view it, when Aelin and Manon fall back into the real world, they land right near Maeve, who happens to have a lead. On the water, the battle's still not great, even with the help of Rowan's cousins, which is when we have some air support arrive because the 13 turn up. Turns out Abraxos dropped Manon off at the boat and then flew to go find the girls and bring them all back to Manon. He's so cute. And Maeve reveals that she planned everything Aylin's just encountered, the demons attacking them, etc., to deplete Aylin's magic. Maeve's been waiting for Aelin to be magically exhausted to attack, because she knows she'd stand no chance against Aelin if Aelin was at full power. Now, fire explodes around everyone as Aelin attacks Maeve, which Lorcan uses as a great distraction to then go and kill all the guards that have got a lead trapped. He wants her to run away from the battle, but she doesn't want to be a coward. And as Maeve and Aelin are fighting, a lead turns to Manon and's like, please help Aelin. Like, Manon, you're all strong and powerful. Please help. And Manon is just not helping at all. Maeve notices this as Fenris and Gavriel arrive on the beach, and Maeve makes Manon an offer. She says, look, Manon, I've got no beef with you, witch. Like, if you back off and you walk away, I'll let you go. I will let you live. I do not have a problem with you. Which Manon agrees to, and you're gagged. You're like, what? I beg your pardon. And then we have a surprise stepping up to the plate from Gavriel, who's like, Maeve, please don't do this. Let me take Aelin's place. Like, if you're going to punish anyone, punish me. And Maeve's like, oh, I will, Gavriel. Looks to me like Lorcan is still perfectly alive over there, and I told you to kill him. You have let me down. You have not done your job. And she severs their blood bond. She basically sacks him in a way that's going to cause like maximum physical pain and agony. Maeve turns around to Aelin and says that she knew she'd find all 3 weird keys, and that Maeve's had this massive master plan all along. Maeve knew that Rowan was eventually going to be Aelin's fated mate, and that the children Aelin and Rowan have together, they're going to be strong enough to rule the world, because Rowan's insanely powerful and Aelin's insanely powerful, and Maeve wants those children. So she's done everything she could to kind of get Rowan under her thumb and create the situation where Aelin and Rowan met. Thing is, Rowan's incredibly noble. He was really strong in his own right. And so, as part of her plan, many, many years ago, Maeve tricked Rowan into thinking he'd found his mate and then killed said mate and their child so that Rowan would be forever traumatized and capable of being manipulated by Maeve and look up to her and lean on her and be her puppet for as long as he was. So Rowan thought he'd lost his soulmate and the love of his life. And really, she never was at all. It's always been Aelin he was meant to be with. And Maeve knew that. And she just wanted to cause like maximum trauma because she wanted everything to happen on her timeline. Wanted things to happen in her own way, the way that benefited her the most. Although Maeve does admit that she hadn't quite anticipated the 2 of them being in such like bad places emotionally that when they met for the first time, they wouldn't even be able to recognize each other as mates. She thought that would go a lot quicker. But it turns out this isn't really like a surprise from Aelin. Maeve's involvement might be, but she came to the realization that Rowan was her soulmate and the real love of her life, the man she was meant to be with, during the fight with Manon back in Air of Fire, as he got hurt, and she couldn't imagine living without him. Oh, so she's known since then that she loved him, and she doesn't think he's realized that back. She hasn't told Rowan either because there's planning, and that'd be too much for Rowan. She wasn't even sure Rowan would believe her, to be fair, but she also doesn't want him to have a mate and then lose it a second time. And just to really twist the knife in, Maeve says, "Oh, and just so you know, Aelin, in about 5 years' time, because you're demi-fae and whatnot, you'd have settled into like a full fae form and you'd have lived for 1,000 years. You and Rowan could have been together, happy as a couple for 1,000 years. But now there's no way that is happening over my dead body because you haven't done what I wanted you to do." So Maeve calls for Kane, the guy that she's brought in to replace Rowan, who Rowan says is awful and evil. And Maeve says, "Look, you come with me and get in this box willingly without struggling, or I'm going to bring a lead with us. Like, if you get in, no problem. I'll leave a lead here and a lead can live. If not, real bad things are going to happen to a lead." And obviously, Aelin's like, "Okay." And you're reading it going, "What?" But Aelin's like, "No, I surrender. I surrender. I don't need to hurt these people. I don't need to hurt my friends and my family." And Maeve orders Lorcan and Fenris to stay really still. And obviously, because they're her bloodsworns, like, they can't defy her. Aelin gives like a lead messages for Rowan and Adian, and Maeve makes Aelin take her shirt off and she whips her on the beach. And we all know that that's the one thing that's really going to send Aelin over the edge. Girls got a real thing about being whipped, and that's exactly what Maeve goes to straight away because Maeve knows exactly what's going to cause her maximum pain. And because she's evil, Maeve says, "I'm going to give you 10 lashes now. Right, and I want you to count them," which obviously Aelin refuses to do because she might be having her back ripped open, but girl's got a spine. So Maeve just starts the 10 lashes over and over and over again. It's only when the others start approaching that Maeve says, "Yeah, stop the beat and get her on the boat. We're leaving." So they shove Aelin into this metal box, wrap iron chains around it because that obviously subdues magic, which we know all the way from Saoirse and Dorian's experiments back in Crown of Midnight. And they put this iron mask over her face. It's awful. They then carry this like metal casket onto their ship, and Maeve orders Fenris to come with them. As they're leaving, Maeve turns around and says to Lorcan, "Yeah, I break our blood oath as well. I don't want you anymore. I'm taking everything with me. I'm leaving you here." And Lorcan starts crying on the beach, which, let me tell you, really doesn't go down well with a lead, okay, who is furious about Aelin going away. And then she turns around and Lorcan's sobbing on the ground about being dumped by Maeve. Oh, it's bad. The iconic bit of Aelin Galathynius' move, though, is that Maeve assumes that not only has she got Aelin, she's got the weird keys that Aelin had. Because Aelin had 2 of them, remember? And she had the lock. But oh, no, no, no. Manon being quiet and staying to the side, it seemed sus at the time. Turns out, when they landed on the ground and clocked that Maeve was right there, first thing Aelin did was slip everything into Manon's pockets. So while Maeve has got Aelin, she hasn't got a single one of the weird keys. Because Manon and Aelin worked together without saying a thing to make sure that at least Maeve didn't have that power. But the ending of this book is one of the worst. Okay, it's awful. because Rowan makes it to shore too late and Aelin is gone with Maeve. So Rowan goes for Lorcan and oh, we have fan art, we have animation. He has a knife to Lorcan's neck and he is screaming, "Where is my wife?" And we find out that the night before, Aelin and Rowan got married on the ship. Obviously, Adian was captain, so he had the authority to marry people, and Aelin and Rowan asked him to marry them. Which means that when Rowan snuck out of their bedroom and flew around and spoke to his family members, what he was actually asking them for was, please help me save my wife. And so, in their eyes, she's a Whitethorn. Well, she is a Whitethorn. She's part of their family. So, of course, they were going to help Rowan save her. And what you find out is that the reason Maeve knew exactly where they were and she knew to send the ships and come for them is that Lorcan called her when all those demon dogs were attacking. When all of that was going down, Lorcan called for Maeve. So it's Lorcan's fault that Maeve knew to come and attack them right then and there. Fortunately, Aelin noticed that Lorcan had done this, and so she's done her sneaking around and planning thing again. Step number one of which was to marry Rowan. It's all awful because Elide has to tell Rowan that she's been whipped, and obviously that breaks him even more. And Elide says, look, Maeve said this about Aelin being your mate. And it's like just another dagger into Rowan's heart. It also comes out if Aelin knew, Lysandra knew that they're besties at this point. Turns out Aelin figured this out when she went and threw up on the boat because she realized what was going on, what was coming, and she had Lysandra come into the bathroom to make a plan for what would happen when Maeve took Aelin away. Basically, Aelin has made sure that Lysandra knows everything she needs to know about using the weird keys and the gay and get basically everything she needs to know to get rid of everyone. And Aelin has asked Lysandra to shapeshift into her to pretend to be Aelin, basically forever. That way, Rowan is officially the king of Terrasen. He's got a home. He'll always have somewhere safe. Lysandra can pretend to be Aelin, and then in order to keep the royal bloodline going, Lysandra can be with Adian, and those children they'll be Ash Rivers. They'll look like Aelin. And everyone is like, Lysandra, what the hell? You were okay with this? And she's like, well, my friend asked. Well, I couldn't say no. And it's all coming out at the end. It's like this massive trauma dump on the world's most awful beach. At this point, Elide turns on Lorcan. And yeah, she rips into him because it's his fault. He's made all this happen. He's a traitor, basically. And Elide says, yep, no, thank God I'm not tied down to you. I'm one of the 13. I'm a witch. Manon is obviously with the 13 at this point, and she asks them, you know, did you hear what my grandmother said during our fight? Did you hear that I am a Crocan witch? And obviously she's worried that they're not going to accept her, but the 13 love Manon. And what Manon decides is if she is the last Crocan queen, at this point she owes Aelin a life debt. The least she can do is work towards becoming better than their ancestors. And so Manon sets herself the goal of uniting the Crocan witches and rally that army to fight for Aelin. The Iron Teeth might all be aligned with the King of Ardlan, but the Crocan witches, they're the good guys. So Manon is going to go and get them all and bring them over to fight in Aelin's war. Manon lets everyone know that she's got the 2 weird keys from Aelin, and she lets Dorian know that, according to Elena, Dorian could also close the gates. He's got blood and magic too. So he takes the keys and he has them on him. Now my man Rowan, he's really not okay. He can see Aylin's plan. He knows deep down that they are mates, and so he's like, look, I know she's planned all this stuff out, but F that. So he sends a message to her on the mating bond. Look, I'm coming for you. I will save you. And so that's going to be Rowan's mission going forward. As they're all there on the beach, this other ship turns up that none of them recognize. Guess who makes a last minute cameo? You won't guess. We find out that when Aelin sent her letter off to Ansel to call in her favor, she sent a couple of others as well. And her other cousin, she decided not to kill back when she was in Wendelin. Prince Galen Ashriver of Wendelin has come to aid Aelin in her war. He makes it clear that his people, that they've never forgotten their family. They've never forgotten Aelin's mum, and they're coming to avenge her. Then, while they're all on the sand, hundreds of darker skinned people turn up, and they're the silent assassins. Ilias has come in response to the letter Aelin sent him. I told you all of the goodness she puts out in Assassin's Blade in this book. We have Rolf come on side. We have Ilias and the Silent Assassins. We have Ansel. They all come through for her. And her cousin, who we've only ever seen kind of from a rooftop at a distance, he comes through as well. So while Aylin's gone, she has, through sneaky, an Aelin, Ashriver, Whitethorn, Galathinius level plan executed. When everyone's like, we need allies for you to become queen, well, here they are. Won't have expected any of them, but they're here. This is the better array than you could have ever thought of yourselves.